Thank you, Kevin, for coming back to the show, first of all. It's always a fun time. Let's lighten it up. Let's lighten it up a little bit. So let's come over to my screen here. I want to talk about the first time you were here. This is you, myself, and Neil, and we were talking all about watches, and here we were comparing them, and that was a real fun time. Then you came back again, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to buy something here to impress Kevin. So here's the Submariner. Okay, so we bought that. And then now, Kevin O'Leary, I'm going to show you something that I know that you're all about. It is the Apple Watch right now. So I knew you'd like this.
Well, listen, I give you permission to wear it on the alternate wrist. You know, you can use it to count your steps, because I actually do that too with an Apple Watch. But I always keep a major piece on my other wrist. So I'm 2 minutes in one.
Smart.
I got to have 2 minutes. And I don't know, since we last talked, if you saw, I picked up that one-of-a-kind AP Shark Tank, open-faced, covered in rubies. It took them 3 years to make it for me. That's going to be the star watch on Shark Tank season 15, red band. I posted it on social. People went nuts, absolutely nuts for that piece.
Yeah, I have you right here on Twitter while you're talking about it, and you did a whole thing about it. That is a pretty impressive watch. I did want to go over that. You know, if they ever make two, just send one over here. I'll show it on the show and everything like that, and don't worry about that for sure. But you know what I used it for? Have you ever used a sleep tracker on the Apple Watch? Because I think that's pretty cool too. You can see your different stages of sleep and everything.
Yeah, I did use it, but I'm using the Aura for sleep tracking. If the resolution is 10 times out of the Apple Watch. Apple Watch is for working out and my bike rides. I'm down here in Miami. I do 9.2 miles every single morning when the sun rises.
Hello.
That's my workout. But the sleep ring is amazing. And what the sleep ring will tell you, which is really bad news for everybody, is if you drink before you go to bed, you have the shittiest sleep you can possibly imagine. You got to stop drinking before you go to sleep. I can't do it. You know, if I can't have a glass of wine, I might as well be dead. But I tried it for 3 days, no drinking. It blew my mind. My REM sleep went up by 30%. Right. My heart rate dropped by 40%. Like, this ring is a bummer because it tells you you can't drink.
Yeah, it's too real, I guess.
It tells you can't, well, these things tell you can't also trade after drinking. I've found that as well. It's like a couple of drinks. My recovery's terrible.
I thought our P&Ls tell us that.
If I have too many drinks, I have like a 90% losing rate when you get really drunk.
No,
but
slow down on the drinks.
I kind of want to. You want to go back and make it nice and simple. But I found something about you. Like, you're an axe guy, right? So you like playing the axe. Is that true? You're a guitar man.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love it. I mean, look. The thing is, you got to live your life. But just before we leave drinking, the real answer to drinking is drink at breakfast. So you metabolize the booze before you go to bed. I said to my wife, honey, what about this? What about we have cocktails in the morning with toast? She said, are you out of your mind? What's the matter with you? I said, look, the Aura Ring told me to do that. Right. Just kidding.
I don't think, this is why this man's on Shark Tank.
I don't have a problem with that at all, Kevin. But so look, my daughter got gifted a guitar from my neighbor, just sort of out of nowhere, and she's turning 6. And I'm thinking, okay, do we push her down that road? Because she likes the piano, but my wife and I both played the piano. And then she's taking to the guitar, and it's like, a lot of people say start with the piano because that's the way to go. What's your thoughts? Because axe or the piano?
Yeah, no, the piano is actually very good in terms of learning chord structures and the scales. But unfortunately, people think it's easy to learn how to play guitar. It is not. The guitar actually was created out of the piano in the sense that you couldn't move as a performer in the Middle Ages with a piano or a harpsichord, so they put it into a guitar which you could transport. But it's really the same principles. When you're pushing down on those strings, you're creating chords. It's learning the chords. I tell everybody there's so much instructional stuff online these days, but the only way to become a good guitarist is you got to practice every single day, and you got to get your calluses. So every night I take out my axe and I play. Sometimes I go live on Instagram just for the hell of it, and just to see if anybody else wants to mess around and jam and stuff. But if you do that, you'll get better and better and better and better. And now I feel that I'm way better than I was 2 years ago just because I'm playing at night. You know, it's a great thing. You need a little yin and yang in your life.
Yes,
you got to do both.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, both is the answer. I love that answer. My wife is going to hate it, but it's going to be both.
My kids started with piano. Now they're doing violin, Kevin. So that's another string there.
That's another one.
That they're
violin's
doing.
bad news, baby. Oh,
I know. You know how screechy? It's so screechy.
Oh,
it's better than drums.
That's just horrible. That's horrible. You got to get them a soundproof room.
Oh man, I gotta do something. Or when do you want to come visit us? When are you back in Toronto?
I try and avoid Toronto in January, February, and March because it's really bad for my health. It dries out my skin. So I try and stay here in Miami where it's much nicer. But once the spring comes, you know, I'm there.
Cry me a river there. It dries out all of our skin when it's minus a million.
You don't want me to get chapped lips. I got to stay out of Toronto. February is miserable there. Are you kidding? Miserable.
Come on.
It's true.
Come on, Kevin.
It's true.
You know,
no, but it's true. What are we supposed to say? Like,
I mean, I was in Miami last April. And I was like, I'm never coming back to Canada again. So I don't blame you.
I'm going to Florida in March. It is what it is.
All right, Kevin, you mentioned something about talking about oil when you were back here, and that is 100% accurate. And I'm going to pull up a chart. Kevin O'Leary was here talking about oil, basically when oil went negative. You can call it up here. You were down here, and I remember clear as day. I just can't remember, so it's not clear as day. I don't remember if it was in April or October, but either way, XOM was at $35. I remember that because I'm a shareholder of XOM. My father actually, Kevin, gave me the wealthy barber at a very young age. So I just started investing in dividend stocks, managing my own RRSP, which is similar to a 401k, of course. Many would know that, being US Canadian. But I like the dividend names, and I know that you're sort of a value investor, to say the least. Obviously, we take growth stocks as well. But is there anything that's impressing you now, as far as maybe a value name that's been depressed, or anything that you could sort of pick for our viewers here? And it's, again, it doesn't have to be a long-term name, but maybe something that might work in the next year or two where we can collect some dividends. For me, I like IBM because I think you have the AI in there as well. And of course, that's a big dividend pair. Is there anything you're looking at?
Well, I don't know if you guys have been watching fund flows the last 3 weeks, but the European trade is back on. Stocks have gotten so cheap that the top 50 names over there are much better value than their equivalents in the US. And some of those top 50, so I'm using an index that I know very well, OEUR, now owned by Alps. That the behemoth ETF company owns OEUR, but I still use it because we're still involved in the index creation of that. And we designed that with 50 European names. So that's where I put some money to work because it's a really good div yield. It has really behemoth European names, and many of those names have up to 50% of their sales in the US. They're just trading at a much lower PE. And the other area is US mid caps. Not the Russell 2000, because 2/3 of those companies make no money, but OUSM has about 300 names in it that are dividend payers that are more in the $5 billion market cap. A good way to play the mid-cap space. They're not exposed to China trade war stuff because it's all U.S. domestic sales. And so if you look at those two, they're transparent. You can look at the names. You can either cherry pick the names yourself or use the ETF. But I'd allocate some mid-cap and some Europe for the next 9 months and just sit in the weeds and collect the dividends because those things pay monthly.
Yeah, I like ASML there. I like those looks. Thank you so much for all of that, Kevin. Bullard is making the markets go down right now as we speak, advocating for. So. I know it's like you can't get away from these Fed speakers every now and then. But I just want to thank you personally for coming on and the good advice because my daughter's going to like that answer.
You got it. All right, take care, guys. See you later.